So hello everyone, my name's Hafsa. I'm a Paramedic Science graduate. I graduated last year from the University of East Anglia, and I'm currently studying my Masters in Clinical Research full-time at the University of East Anglia. So I thought I do a lot of inclusivity, diversity work within the University of East Anglia. So I just thought I would talk about how I got into that and what I'm doing and where we hope to go in the future with it. So moving to Norwich, it's not as diverse as London, where I come from, which I anticipated a little bit, but not, I guess, to the extent that it was, and not to what it was like in the ambulance service in Norfolk. I was the only Black Muslim girl on my course, and with everyone that I interacted with in the ambulance service in Norfolk, really. And that came with a lot of negative stereotypes and negative experiences. It wasn't all bad, but there was a good portion of bad that happened. And I'll just give some examples to put it into context. I've had clinicians ask me, well, you're Muslim, you don't want to kill me, right? Or as a Black person, they've asked me, oh, you're Black and you're from London and you're from an estate. How comes you made it into higher education and people like you end up in gangs or they end up in prison? And so I found myself having to justify or explain why I ended up in higher education and in the ambulance service. And so that kind of happened a lot throughout the 3 years of my undergrad. And into third year, it kind of got to the point where I had enough, I guess, of it. And a group of us, we went and we complained about our experiences. And that led to a lot of outcomes coming out. So as I stayed on, than anyone else on my cohort, I stayed on and studied my full-time Masters, and I started working with many different people in the School of Health Sciences at uni. And I became a consultant on the BAME Ambassador scheme. And that, within the role, it's advising and helping out and carrying out separate sort of projects. Currently, the biggest project that we're working, or I'm leading on, is the BAME Ambassador BAME mentoring scheme. So we're hoping to link up BAME healthcare students with BAME healthcare professionals, just as an extra support. And we're looking for mentors outside of London, or outside of Norwich, because it's not that diverse. So we're looking to link with anyone, anywhere that is willing and happy to mentor the upcoming BAME healthcare professionals and give them that extra guidance and support, because it's they've been there, so they can give advice and help as and when. I have been working with the East of England Ambulance Service as well, sitting in meetings and explaining our experiences to kind of put it into context, because I think in this day and age, a lot of people are shocked that racism or Islamophobia or any type of ism or abuse kind of happens. People think because we live in England or we live in Britain, it doesn't happen, it's not a thing. We're not in America, so it's not that big of a thing, but it happens, and it happens a lot, and we have microaggressions and all sorts. So I think raising awareness of it was the most important thing, because a lot of people don't believe it when you say that these things happen. And I guess whilst it was happening, didn't really believe that this was happening. I'd read these things, but it was never me before I moved outside of London. So working with the East of England Ambulance Service to make improvements. And I recently spoke at the National College of Paramedics conference, speaking on my experiences as a Black Muslim Paramedic Science graduate. And the response was really good from people, because I spoke openly and honestly. I didn't hide it, because I feel like you have to be honest to everyone about what could happen and what most likely is going to happen. Maybe not to that extent, or maybe not as much, but it will happen, especially if you venture outside of London and not into a big city where there's not a lot of diversity. It is going to happen potentially, and that's not me wishing it on anyone, but it does happen. And I wish that prior to me starting my undergrad, someone had told me that, okay, this is what's going to happen, and to this extent, and this is how it's going to make you feel, because I'd never experienced it. I'd never experienced any racism or any Islamophobia before I moved outside of London. I didn't, you think, yeah, I'm going to stand up to the person, I'm not going to have it, sort of thing. And I never did. I never backed down. I always spoke up. But the emotional feeling afterwards and what it does to you yourself, and no one told me, and I wasn't aware. And I wish someone had told me, so that I was anticipated it a little bit and maybe dealt with it a bit better, because it makes you feel so isolated in a place where you're already feeling isolated because you're the only person that looks like yourself. You find yourself for me, whenever I'd had a negative experience, I just close off a little bit from everyone and just stay within myself, because I don't want to have to explain it and someone validate my experience and tell me, oh yeah, that is or isn't racist, or it is or isn't Islamophobic. Like, I would just find myself closing in, and it wasn't really good on your mental health and how you're feeling, and just wanting to continue on because you're not being made to feel comfortable, and it's like, why am I here? I should just go home. But like my advice to everyone would be that you can do it, but it's just having that awareness that, okay, this could happen. And so just having that little bit, not anticipation, but preparation for it. And then like my advice to coping with it all would be having a really good support system around you, like be it your friends, be it family, but really having good ties with people that can push you and motivate you, because you're going to have times that you don't want to continue doing it. Like, the degree is hard. The paramedic science degree is not easy. You've got a lot of essays to write, you've got a lot of practical assessments, you've got placement alongside doing all of those things as well, exams. Like, it is a lot in itself. And then being someone who falls into the category of BAME or any ethnic minority, you have a lot more than your white peers are going to have to face. And so making sure you have that support system around you is definitely my biggest advice. Like, making sure you have good people around you that you can talk to, and just feel that love and support, because you're gonna want to quit. Just being a student, I guess every student goes through that, right? But you're gonna want to stop it at times, and like, especially if it happens recurrently, which I had at times where every other shift I'm going to, I'm facing something. It gets tiring, because it's like, why am I having to explain myself when I'm here to learn how to be the best paramedic that I can be, but I'm actually having to educate people that, being a Black Muslim I'm not any threat to anyone. Like, I just want to learn and, become a paramedic. So that would be my biggest advice. So yeah, that's how I got into all of my inclusivity and diversity work. At the moment, yeah, I'm still working alongside uni, but my time at uni is coming to an end soon. At the end of September, I should be finishing my master's and hopefully going on from there and maybe doing something else. I don't know, we'll see what happens in the future. But definitely, I think if you can be an advocate and you can be an activist, use your voice. I'm not saying the onus is on us, because it isn't. We shouldn't have to have these experiences, but like, can we really rely on the same people who put us into these issues to help us out of them when they don't see it as an issue and they don't realize that they do or say certain things? So I think we have to work together and push each other and help each other make a difference, not for them, but for us and for the people behind us to come, sort of thing. Like, that's been my motivation. Like, potentially any BAME student coming into paramedic science who, maybe they could be the only person in their whole class. So that's definitely been my thing. And I think, like, learning about the House of Medics, what they do is amazing. Like, it's amazing for aspiring professionals, those who are already in the field. Like, having that connection, I think it's really, we underestimate how necessary it is. When you have that good solid foundation and you understand each other, you can push each other, and we can excel, and we can do anything we want to do, sort of thing. Yeah.